Hello, and welcome to Caesar's Movie Thoughts.
I'm Marcus.
And I'm Aurelius. And today we are talking about V for Vendetta. So, I just want to go ahead and preface. We're going to be talking full spoilers here.
Yep.
We're not going to hold back. So, if you haven't seen the movie, don't watch this video. Don't. Just leave. You can go now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just leave. Okay. Now that we're out of the way. So, you and I, we've both watched this. This is our second time both watching this, right? I watched this for the first time in 2021.
Yeah, I would have been 22.
When you watched it?
2022.
2022. Okay,
yep, that would have been when I did it.
Okay, yeah. So this was, I think for me, this was kind of one of the first times I watched back in, for me, 2020, 2021 was like the time I was just starting to watch just like non-franchise movies.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Like movies that I'd heard things about. And I just saw it on HBO Max, and I was like, okay, cool. And I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
When I first watched it, especially, it was one that just really jumped out at me, and because I hadn't seen that many really good movies at that time.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I probably watched it sort of the same time, same way. Just saw it on a random streaming something. I was like, I want to try it.
So on a rewatch. What do you think?
I probably liked it better than the first time, and I liked it the first time. So it's up there. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. Never got bored. It was enjoyable.
I liked it too. I think I've seen so many movies at this point. That's I think I don't know. I would say it's diminished a little bit for me. It doesn't when I watched it was like, oh my god.
That first viewing, you were like,
what is this? This is amazing. I wasn't thinking that as much with this movie, but it is still very, very good, very enjoyable. I think I originally rated it as a 9 out of 10. And I'm like, okay. I don't think I'm going to move that down.
No, I'd put that same.
Put it same.
Yep.
One thing I found was really interesting, especially when I was at some point I went through and I was hearing a list of movies based on comic book movies that you wouldn't think of, because you have the traditional DC movies and the Marvel movies. That's pretty much all you know about. There's a whole slew of movies that are based on DC comics or Marvel comics that you wouldn't even think of. I think a couple that come to mind. One of them is V for Vendetta. That's a DC comic movie. Red is another one. Retired Extremely Dangerous, I believe is what it was.
Yeah.
That was one. Oddly enough, that was one I got when I was 13 or something like that. My dad got it for me for Christmas. No idea what it was. That was the only time I watched it. I still own the DVD.
Haven't watched
it in 10 years.
Do you know they made a second one?
Yes, and I don't know if I will watch it. I don't know. I think Unbreakable and Glass. Those are M. Night Shyamalan movies, I think.
I've seen the first one. That's it.
And those are, I think, also based off of DC comics.
That would make sense.
There's quite a few of them out there. I don't know the extensive list of them all. Those are just some off the top of my head. It was kind of interesting, and for a couple times, I thought to myself, I was like, is he more than human? Especially when you get to that last superhero. You get to that last bit, and I'm like he gets shot up a bunch of times, and I'm like,
yeah.
Was there maybe a super soldier serum in there or something?
That I could.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, when it started, it was DC Comics.
Was there?
Yeah, no, it was, and I was like, anyway, I didn't.
Shows how much
must have missed that the first time.
Shows how much attention I pay to these movies. I tell you. There's some things I guess I just see so often I just don't even pay attention anymore.
Moving through.
So what about music? Any notable thoughts on the music?
I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it. Nothing jumped out at me though.
I don't remember anything.
Okay. It's a blank.
Although I will say one thing that I was thinking. So that you have the bit where they're about. So it's the 2nd, 5th of November.
Okay.
And they're about to do the big revolution thing.
Yep.
And Evie, she comes to V's lair, and she's playing the music, and he asks her to dance with him.
Yeah.
And she's like, on the eve of your revolution, and he said, "What is a revolution without dancing?"
Yep.
The funny thing with that, I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is making me think of Footloose. I don't know. Have you seen Footloose?
I have not.
No, you have not. Okay, so
That's on my list.
I guess
but-
okay. Apparently, spoilers for Footloose. Okay.
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 I'm gonna get
It's-
spoiled.
Yeah, I don't even care. So in Footloose, right? Basically, you have this guy who comes from like a big city,
Yeah, I know a basic sort of.
and
premise.
he comes to this town, this small town, and they've basically banned music, like good music.
Okay.
So like rock and roll music, dancing, all that stuff. And it's, you have this like Puritan Christian guy, like the pastor who takes it upon himself to save the town.
Gotcha.
And part of that is no dancing. Like dancing is banned.
Yep.
And he gets upset when his daughter, like he finds his daughter listening to music
Oh,
on a
of course.
boombox.
The
It's
daughter.
like, and it's like, it's like a very like fundamentalist kind of thing. Except for this goes like a step further. And this guy, you know, like he ends up like getting his tape. This is a 1984 movie. Tape as in cassette tape, as in audio cassette tapes. If you don't know what that is, look it up.
Yeah.
You're probably under the age of 25 if you don't know what that is. So he gets his tape confiscated by the police because he was listening to loud music in his car. And that kind of sucked. So basically, he goes on this journey to try to free the youth to allow
be
them
able
to
to
do a
dance.
dance.
Gotcha.
And he has this revolution that ends with a dance.
And that's
And that's where the connection between V for Vendetta and Footloose came in. I was thinking he was like, there's no like it's not a revolution without dancing. And I'm like,
yeah.
that was weird. It was like, okay, I was like, oh, that's a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to think about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise, there are very few movies where the soundtrack is memorable.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as it doesn't take away from a movie,
honestly,
you're doing pretty good.
I honestly don't pay like that. That's just something that when I think of a movie, I think of like the visuals.
Yeah.
I think about
Plot.
like the acting, and the plot, and all that stuff. But the music, I always, for some reason, I just do not remember music for very much.
No.
Like there are some like Lord of the Rings or like there are some musicals that I'll remember the music. I know like the Avengers theme song is something that's very recognizable, or like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Or when I watched Halloween for the first time, I was like, I immediately could like during the opening credits, I was like, this is iconic music.
Okay.
I don't know if I've even heard this music before, but this is iconic music.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So if you can get your sound like, and I think like you'll have like artists like John Williams and Hans Zimmer and
he's great.
there's some others.
Those are the two I think of though.
Yeah, those are like the two that you can that you remember their names.
Yeah.
Like if you have like a composer that's just so good, like John Williams does like stuff like Jaws, for instance. You remember the Jaws theme.
Yep.
That isn't like you don't walk away from Jaws and don't remember the music.
Yep.
Those guys are like Back to the Future. They're or Jurassic Park.
Okay, he did that too.
Those are themes like you hear that and you instantly know like you are going to remember this. And there are like, you know, I've seen like there's like a Doctor Strange. Do you know what Doctor Strange, what his theme song is?
I would not.
No, I don't either. I don't know what Captain America's theme or
No.
Iron Man's theme or but you remember Superman's theme
Yeah.
or you remember Batman '89's theme.
Yeah.
You know, you remember those themes. So it's like
But
those are like iconic pieces. of
happens
music,
sometimes, but more often than
Yeah,
not.
this is not a movie with iconic theme
Which,
music.
that's fine.
Maybe some people would disagree, but yeah, it is. I just don't remember it. I thought it was really interesting with so you have Evie comes to V and is like, hey, I want to help you out.
Yeah. Which,
And I don't know if you caught on with this. To me,
Yeah.
my first thought was like, she's probably lying. She probably wants to do it to get out.
I was kind of thinking that too.
And then she goes and also she goes this Catholic priest who's on V's hit list.
Yeah.
And I was thinking when I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, the whole Catholic priest people will say about like Catholic priests, they're like, oh yeah, they're all pedophiles. This leans into that.
Pretty heavily.
I thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, okay, so you're doing that kind of Catholic priest. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she tries to warn him. He thinks she's playing this weird little silly game, and then he comes in and she's like, "Oh no!"
So do you think though she was supposed to warn him?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I think she was.
I think she was trying to get protection from him. She was trying to get away from V.
I think she actually
She
was.
was trying to portray betray V.
I think so too.
Which is why when she ran, she didn't go back to V. She went to her friend.
Big mistake.
And then she ends up getting captured. And I'm still not sure about
how that went down.
Yeah, because it like you have the guys who grabbed him,
Yeah, I don't
and then
know
they
his name,
grabbed her.
But you don't really. There's
But
like
then-
one person grabs
But
her.
then like V has some guys, I guess, who ended up grabbing her. But then he got grabbed first. I
The other
forget the
guy?
guy's name. Yeah, okay, Dietrich. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets grabbed and
he's played by Stephen Fry.
and they filmed that exactly the same.
That was cool. It was I like the parallels that they do with that.
They do great.
Where they have like one thing that happened earlier on in a flashback, and then you have a parallel of that thing later on in the movie
Shot exactly the same.
happening to Evie.
Yeah. Because it's her parents. It's her mom earlier. It's the exact same shot. She's like as a kid hiding on the bed. Her mom gets grabbed and like falls, and you can just see like her face a little bit before they black bag her. And then it's the exact same thing with Dietrich. Dietrich gets hit. She's under the bed. Dietrich falls and black bag.
It's like exactly identical, and it was like, wow, that was kind of cool the way they did that.
But yeah, then somehow I don't know if V just got her originally, like he had a guy working for him.
I don't know. I don't know how all that happened.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I'm not entirely sure about.
Probably.
But it was interesting the way that like he sets up this entire thing, and like he sets up like this whole elaborate thing to try to break her, to see if she will break.
But at the same time though, it's also to try to get her to not be afraid anymore, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Because if like in the trying to break her, if she doesn't break, then she
loses fear.
She conquers fear.
Okay. Yeah, I like that better.
And if he does break her, then he can get rid of her.
Yeah.
You know? And he knows that, hey, you don't have to, like, I don't have to protect you as much anymore, because you're not going to be able to, like, you're not like, even then you weren't going to.
She wasn't going to survive.
She wasn't like, she knew she wasn't going to survive, and also she wasn't going to give him up.
Yeah.
Even then.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's like, okay, we're good.
No, it had to be amazing actor commitment, because I think she about had to have her head shaved for that role, I would think.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's any way around that.
There's a few I think there's a few movies where actresses have shaved their heads.
I mean, that was.
I think the other one that I'm thinking of is Guardians of the Galaxy. Karen Gillan.
She had to do it for Nebula.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She and she actually, I think she used her own hair to make a wig. So the wig she wore was her own hair.
But no, that was Natalie Portman was awesome, and that was commitment. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thought I had was so when I was watching the movie, I was like, when does this take place?
Right.
It's unclear. So I came up with sometime around around 2040. And here's how I came up with it. Okay. So when Evie was reading the note written by that woman,
yep.
She mentions that she shot a movie in 2015.
Okay.
So that's the first anchor point I got in the movie, was 2015. Nice. So in 2015, and then she met a woman there, and I think she, I don't know, had a relationship, got married. I don't know if
right, whatever,
marriage was legal in this world. And so I'm like, okay, so somewhere a couple years probably went by. She's saying she's seeing the change of things getting like more and more banned, and people getting more and more sensitive, as I would call it. So that's a couple of years, and then she ends up getting black bagged and taken to the thing. And I'm going to estimate, so if that was 2015, if we give them, say, 5 years.
That's what I was thinking.
That's 2020.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh? And when the disease was spread was probably around 2020. Parallels much? This was made in 2006, by the way. This was none of this was intentional on their part.
Not a bad guess.
So if we say roughly 2020, and then V said he was in the cell next to her when she died, and she had wrote that thing, so he would have been in there around the same time. Let's say 2020. This was before the virus got spread out to all the people in that original facility.
Right.
So if that was 2020, he said he's been waiting for this year. At the very end, he said he's been waiting for this year for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So this would place it roughly in the 2040s.
No, that makes sense too because Natalie Portman's brother died from it, and it looked like he was like in the hospital like 2 to 4 years old.
Yeah.
And she's probably over 20.
20s,
so like
something
that
like
20
that.
year. I like that.
So I think that was my estimation, somewhere in the 2040s. I kind of touched on this a little bit in the 2020. I was kind of feeling like this movie feels a little bit more like Nazi Germany meets 2020. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Also, the whole media control was just, it was A, very interesting how the media, they showed how it was all controlled. And then it was B, very interesting how like almost no one believed any of it.
Yeah.
Like you go to each household and
everybody was like, yeah, because like I mean there were like for instance like the initial blowing up the building.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, just demolition. Yeah, totally in the middle of the night. We had demolition guys blowing up the top of a building and also fireworks.
They
Yeah,
put
totally.
A little fun twist on it.
We totally meaned it. We totally meant to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was
or when they had the footage of one of the hostages getting shot, and then they were like this is V. We shot him.
Yeah. All good,
I guess. Okay.
Because then they also had the vans going around listening to phone conversations and stuff or whatever the audio trust. Because like the one guy says, I don't know, 80% of the people think V's still alive.
Yeah.
Duh.
So like you can tell like and personally, you know, when the government tries to control the narrative, to me that's when I get more and more suspicious of it, because they're just like, really?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Sure, likely story.
Rolling with it.
So in that, you know, because again, I watched this in 2021 for the first time.
Right.
And you know, coming off of, you know, still kind of in the pandemic a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, where I was at, it was like we were coming off of it, and just things seemed really suspicious. You know, there was a lot of things that were said in 2020 that were confirmed a couple years later. But in the thick of it, people were saying like, "Oh no, you're crazy for that," and then it came out later, and they're like, "Oh yeah. So this is the fact."
This is what actually
like,
happened.
we're like, "See, and you thought we were crazy."
Right. Yeah.
So, so it really feels it is kind of scary how it feels more relevant now than it did in 2006. Yeah, you were talking about like the mirror of her getting captured, Evie getting captured, and to her parents or Dimitri getting captured versus her parents getting captured. Didn't you have another thought?
Yeah, so it's like, and actually it was another friend I watched it. Who watched it also. He had the thought. I'd kind of gotten close, but I hadn't quite put together. But he's doing the parallel of when V gets out of the mental health or the experiment ward, we'll say, and it's fire, and he's standing there in the fire with his arms out, like he's finally free, but he's on fire. They really parallel that to Natalie Portman when she loses her fear and she gets out in the rain, and she's like in the rain. And my friend was saying that like they do the line "God is in the rain," and so I haven't thought it through 100%, but he thought out the idea that it's like V is the fire, like the devil, like the necessary evil, or kind of almost the devil compared to the rain being the wave of the future, maybe the past to the future more than devil versus God. I'd say fire is the past, and he ends up dying in the explosion at the end, and then the rain is the future. It's an interesting thought, but no matter what, they're paralleling the two of them.
That is actually a really interesting thought with God is in the Rain, because that makes me think of two other movies, The Shawshank Redemption and Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, which
you have Shawshank Redemption, you have that clip of, I forget the guy's name. At the end,
Andy Dufresne.
He gets out, and it's pouring rain, and he's like, you know, kneels down and he's like feeling the water on him.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Blade Runner 2049 when like Ryan Gosling he gets that like gift for his AI girlfriend, and then he and then he's able to bring her out of more than just his house or his apartment, and then he's comes out of, you know, and they go into the rain, and it's like this beautiful moment. She's like almost like she's trying to feel the rain for the first time.
Yes. Before she gets sent to voicemail.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
Oh.
And then also, our friend also was stating that he was also mentioning the contrast of like the symbolism of when you had the detective, like he was like piecing together
Yeah.
how all these events spanning years and decades past were all coming together in one thing. And I think V even says there are no such thing as coincidences.
He said it like twice.
Like he put an emphasis on that.
Yep.
And so the detective was saying, like, you know, he's like I can see how all of these things are coming together. And then while he's like monologuing about you know, all the things, you know, you have it cutting between the different like some of the things that are happening
Now,
with,
some
like,
present.
some past, some present, some future.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you also cut to V setting up a bunch of dominoes.
That's right.
In the
That's
symbol, and then at the end of what he said, V pushes them all down, and they all come into one. They all fall into one domino.
Yeah.
And then at the very end on the train, V puts that domino back.
That's right. The last one to fall.
Yeah. So the last domino to fall is
The train blowing up.
Yeah, the train blowing up. That was some pretty interesting symbolism there.
That's probably my favorite scene in the movie. That's fun. Yeah, they do symbolism too with the everything V related. The fireworks are V. His cell doors, the Roman numeral 5, which is V.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where he got his name. He was the fifth guy, and
then
V, and
there's the whole
the fact that he keeps using V's and everything.
Like his opening dialogue when he first meets her is just like,
3
minutes of V.
V words.
I know. Speaking of, so the fight scene at the end, right? So he gets shot
like so many times.
Like 10 guys empty their whole handguns at him.
I swear I was like, is he a superhero?
Yeah, right?
Is he more than human? Because like I'm like, surely, like, I'm like, okay, you could be wearing a bulletproof vest, but surely somebody was just trying to shoot him in the face, right?
Right.
Maybe not.
Maybe the mask was bulletproof. Maybe not.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think no, I don't know. This is just pure speculation.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe they've been trained to shoot in the chest.
Probably.
Because there's a bigger target and a higher chance of hitting the person.
Yeah.
Maybe. And that's why they all probably just tried to shoot him in the chest, and that's.
Yeah. But so
it was, huh?
Yeah. Everybody shoot, and then he just stands there and he just goes on with the knives and everything. But they're leaning into, I think, you can't kill an idea, right? Like, it's what he stands for. But then at the same time, he is mortal, so he does end up dying from it. And they have like he pulls the steel plate off. But it's like they ride that line between. Is he more, like you say, like a super or whatever? But at the same time, he's still human.
And it all goes down exactly how he predicts it. Yeah. He's like, you guys are all gonna shoot all like, what you have is bullets, and you guys are gonna fire all your bullets at me, and then it'll be my turn, and I will kill every one of you, and then I will end with my hands around your neck.
Greedy or whatever is like, how are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
With my hands around your neck. The dialogue is awesome.
Yeah.
No, but they lean into that idea of like everyone showing up at the end, and then they still like, it's when everyone's pulling off their masks. They have a couple dead people pulling the mask off. Obviously aren't there, but it's like they're part of the idea.
Yeah.
That was fun too.
And that also kind of shows that it also kind of plays into the idea of like the only people who have power are the only way they have power is by letting them have power. Like, for instance, the law has power over us because we submit to the law.
Yeah.
Right.
When
we submit to the government, and that's why the government has power. There are less when the people go against when all the people go against the government. That is when you have a government overthrown and overturned. So when you have a bad government, and the people, when most of the people are just, when they're not in the know, and they'll just go with anything, and they don't care, and they don't pay any attention. Then that's how evil governments rise, by the support of the people. Because when the people, Like you think of like Russia, for instance, in like 1917 or something like that.
Yeah.
When you have the communist revolution there,
Yeah.
right? You had the Tsar who has power, right? But it's overthrown by the people. You have the French Revolution. The kings and queens and the royals were all killed because the people said enough's enough. We're going to change things because there is more peasants than there are royalty. And so when the peasants say we're not going to follow you anymore, we're going to do our own thing, that's when things, you know, and that's what happened here is the people were like, we've had enough. We've had enough of your lies. We've had enough of your deception and your overuse of power, and we're going to stand up to that.
What if V said something like, people shouldn't be afraid of their government?
The government should be afraid of their people.
Yeah. Which was,
and you see that whenever you have revolutions, you see that that very thing happening.
Yeah.
And I think like with Napoleon, I think the way he took back France was because he had the loyalty of the soldiers with him. And when he came back, you know, if the soldiers that weren't loyal to Napoleon, when he came back after his first exile, then he couldn't have taken over.
Yeah, he couldn't have done it
because he didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So the people only have power because people will submit to them. Yeah. And when people don't submit to the powers that be, they no longer have power. One thing I thought was kind of really fascinating about like V's character.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about like he was like kind of like the past or the necessary devil. Yeah. But then also he's absurdly polite. Like it is a little ridiculous. You look at it and you're like, yeah, because like he feels like, for instance, you know, he takes Evie into his home and is like, okay, yeah, now you got to stay here.
Right.
You've seen the place, now you got to stay here. It's like he had to stop, consider what he's doing. I mean, like it shows that's what he did. Like he stopped. He considered what he was doing. He's like, he thought he had to think it over. What are my options? What do I have to do? And he chose to save her even when he knew she would hate him for it.
Yeah.
You know, he did things for her good, even though he knew she would hate him for it.
Yep.
And he was like, and then also he's like just very, very polite, like over the, like.
Very polite. And I love nice. The feeling that he's like very well read, like all the books stacked everywhere, and he's constantly quoting. What was the movie he liked?
Oh, I don't remember.
Was it The Count of Monte Cristo?
Might be.
I don't remember. Go Find Your Own Tree.
So some older fencing action movie.
Yeah,
or something
I hadn't seen
like that. It was. I thought it was just kind of fun.
Yeah.
Just the way he's very polite and. Like at the end of his whole V speech, and he's like, and it's very nice to meet you.
Yeah,
you know, or something like that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Or even in like the fight scene where like you have two guys who try to grab him, and then he like very quickly takes out the knives, kills them both, and then sheathes them very quickly. And it to me it's like this overall like he's a gentleman, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, you definitely get that feeling. For sure.
And it's like because instead of having like an action pose, it's like okay, who's next? Instead, he goes back to like a resting pose, you know, sheathed knives and like he's no longer a threat kind of thing.
He's back.
So, and then also another interesting thing that really kind of breaks the norms of really like any masked heroes is that they never removed his mask. They never showed his face.
Yeah, no.
They never removed his mask. They never explained who he is.
The closest you ever get is when he's trying to be that old guy on the park bench.
Yeah, but even that was a mask.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose it probably was because his face would have been burned probably.
Yeah, so
I didn't think about that.
I think the interesting thing you can do that with, because like every part of his actual body is concealed. So he could be black. He could be white. He could be. I mean, he was played by Hugo Weaving, so obviously he's white. But like he could be like the character itself could be black, white.
He could be anything.
He could be anybody. And I think that was probably part of the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Into the whole idea.
It's like he is
like a symbol. Anybody could follow
a symbol,
it.
Yeah. Kind of an interesting. I think, you know, like with Mandalorian, for instance, like within the first season, by the end of the first season, they take his mask off,
they do.
his helmet off. I know another like masked hero is like in Halo, Master Chief.
Yeah, don't know.
I've never played Halo. I didn't watch the TV show. I just know what I've heard, and like they like very quickly took off his mask or took off his helmet, and it was like, I think that was one of the big things about like Master Chief in the games is that he doesn't ever take his helmet off. You never see his face.
But in the series, they must have done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd love it. I love the movie, and I'd rewatch it. I will rewatch it at some point.
After watching it the first time, I was like, it was one that I ended up buying, and one that I wanted to watch earlier. So for the viewers at home, we have there's a poster on Amazon that has like the top 100 movies. Now, granted, depending on which poster you get, it gets very different movies. But but back in like May of 2022, so almost close to 2 years ago now, I got this poster, and then me and Marcus and another couple of friends of ours, we started going through and watching one of these every week, and that's how we're basing the movies that we watch here is based on that top 100.
We're still
movies.
going through it.
Yeah, we're still going through it. I think we have like 20 some left. Currently we're going once every 2 weeks, and by the end of the year, we'll be close. We should be either like we should be done or we should be almost done with it then. But I was very V for Vendetta was one that I kind of wished that we had watched earlier because I had bought it, so I was like, yeah. But it's towards the end of the list. But right now we're just jumping all around it. But
that's awesome.
And if you guys have enjoyed this video here, let me know by liking and or subscribing if you want to see more of these videos. Leave a comment. Have you seen V for Vendetta? And what did you think of it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Liking and subscribing lets us know that you guys want to see more of these. So do that, and we'll guys see you in the next episode.
See you next time.